question. I think the person knows the answer to this question. It said, isn't it true that Tennessee's Constitution requires a balanced budget? And if so, isn't it a little silly that some candidates tout they have or will balance the budget?
I'll just say yes to the first part of that question. That, because I don't disparage my competition. We do have a balanced budget, constitutional amendment. You know, we are required by our Constitution to balance the budget. But here's why it's still important to talk about balancing the budget, because you know, we can have a balanced budget, but we can still raise taxes. And we can have a balanced budget and we still have to choose what we want to spend the money on. And that's why I think executive leadership is important, because as an executive leader, you've had to balance a budget. In business, if you don't balance your budget, you go broke. In government, you can raise taxes to resolve that issue. But you also have to determine, in business, you have to determine what you need versus what you want. And that's how you make spending decisions. So determining whether you're going to spend money on transportation, education, public safety, things that we need to invest in, and that we need to be committed and need to be certain that our budget is managed in a way that we have the funds necessary to invest appropriately in those things that we need. And sometimes that means making hard decisions about spending on things that we would like to fund, but that we shouldn't fund because it takes away from funding for those things that we need. So managing a budget is as important as talking about balancing the budget. And different people manage budgets in different ways. There's conservative ways to manage budgets and not conservative ways.
And Bill, before I get to the next question, can I make a real quick comment?
Yep.
Talking about balancing budgets, we have an important Senate race coming up between Marshall Blackburn and Phil Bredesen. As Bill was saying, there's a conservative way to do it. I'd like you to keep a couple of things in mind as you're evaluating that race. And I know where most people stand in the race, but it's important to remember in Governor Bredesen's term, he balanced the budget with one-time money. Medicaid TennCare was a disaster. He raided the transportation fund to balance the budget, and we lost our AAA bond rating, and unemployment was one of the highest points in the last 20 years at the end of his tenure. So the facts do matter, and conservative principles do matter. So as you evaluate that race, make sure that you don't listen to the rhetoric and you look at the facts. Sorry, Bill. All right, last question. What are your thoughts on large state contracts staying in Tennessee? There's currently no regulation to favor Tennessee companies over other states. Georgia has enacted. Will you work to keep money in our states?
Wait, are we talking about attracting businesses here, or are we talking about...
That's what it sounds like. What are your thoughts on large state contracts staying in Tennessee? So if the Lee Company gets us a large contract, making sure Lee Company keeps...
Instead of farming it out.
Correct, and farming it out to another state.
So as a governor, my primary responsibility to you is going to be spending your taxpayer money the most effective and most efficient way possible. So I'm going to always advocate for ways to reduce spending of taxpayer dollars without, and this is a really important caveat, without sacrificing quality at all. So just like in my business, if I'm going to go out and subcontract a service to someone, I want to get it done at the highest level of quality, but at the lowest cost possible. That's fiscal responsibility with your taxpayer dollars. Now, so I'm always going to look at opportunities to do that. That might be out of state. That might be taking something that's currently done by the state and using a contractor to do that instead of state employees. However, you got to understand this. Those decisions should be made on a case-by-case basis, because there are unintended consequences sometimes that occur when we make a decision to, say, outsource something that the state is doing. Let's say, for example, we outsource something in a distressed county, and that outsourcing makes the unemployment rate in that county even worse, because we put people out of work by employing an out-of-state company to do that work. We don't want to create a situation that ultimately is worse for that county than it would be, even though we might save a little taxpayer dollar. That's an unintended consequence that we don't want. So there's no blanket answer to this. Yes, I'll always do that, or no, I won't do it. The answer is you'll take it on a case-by-case basis, and if it doesn't sacrifice any quality, and it saves taxpayer dollars, and it doesn't come at the expense of something that's critically important to Tennesseans, then yes, we should do that. And that's kind of how I would approach every decision, much like I would in my own business.
Well, Bill, we can keep going, but we
Yep.
can't, I know you got